Hey boys and girls, welcome back to our Writers Workshop. Writers, we've been working so hard and learning so many different new craft moves from mentor authors, and you've been trying them out in your own writing, and your teacher and I are so proud. So boys and girls, today I want to teach you that writers don't just notice craft moves that authors do, but they actually try them out themselves. For example, we found that writers make some words big and bold, and they use different shapes to show that those words are important to the story and should be read in a strong voice. We noticed that in our other session where we looked at the book Night of the Veggie Monster by George McClements, and we looked at all the strategies that he used. And the strategy that we noticed was that he uses pop-out words. And that's the strategy I want us to focus on today, is using those pop-out words. And remember, pop-out words are important because they tell the reader to use it in a strong voice. Not a screaming voice, but it just tells the reader to use it in a strong voice. This word is important. So let's go back and let's look at the book, The Night of the Veggie Monster, and I'm just going to pick out a few pages for us to look at and see how those pop-out words change the way we read and how George McClements wrote them. So let's look at this page. My parents act as if I'm making it all up, but I'm not. Notice how parents, we could say that's silly, and the word not, he wrote it in all caps and he wrote it big. So we say it like this. My parents act as if I'm making it all up, but I'm not. They have no idea what one tiny pea can do to me. So you see, friends, when George wrote the words in bold, or he wrote them silly, or in all capital letters, it told us to use a strong voice. We also saw it throughout the whole book, but on another page we saw where George wrote, as the pea sits in my mouth, my eyes begin to water. And I see that he wrote the word water all slanted, kind of like a tear rolling out of an eye. And he wrote it in big, bold letters. It's nice and thick. And that tells me that that word is important. So I'm going to read it with a strong voice. I'm going to read it with emphasis. So boys and girls, as we focus on that strategy, I'm going to reread parts of my story I've been writing about, the one where I tell my class about the dance party we're going to have. I'm going to see if you can help me find words that I should make pop out. And as I read and I'm looking for these words, I'm going to think to myself, what words are really important to the story? And which words are the words that I want the readers to read with a strong voice? So I'll read you my story and what I have so far, and you can be listening. What are the important words and what are words that the reader should read in a strong voice? Sometimes it helps just to reread your story out loud and find them. One afternoon, I told the class, I have a surprise for you. Let's meet on the rug. I went to the rug and waited for the kids to come and sit. I smiled as the kids sped to the rug. I covered my mouth with my hands so that I would not tell the surprise too soon. I unraveled a giant piece of bubble wrap on the rug. I leaned over and whispered to the class, we're going to have a dance party. Pop, pop, pop. We all jumped and opened up the bubbles, danced on the bubbles. So you'll see as I read it, I even started asking myself, what words are important and what words do I want my readers to read with a strong voice? And there were some words I noticed I was reading with a strong voice. For example, I noticed that on the first page, I think the word surprise is extremely important to my story, and I want my readers to know that I'm excited about the surprise. So I'm going to make that word bold. Now, if you're writing with your pencil, you can make a word bold by tracing over the letters multiple times to make it nice and thick, or maybe you even take a black crayon and you go over it that way. So now it says, one afternoon, I told the class, I have a surprise for you. Let's meet on the rug. I went to the rug and waited for the kids to come and sit. I like the way surprise is bold and it pops out. It's going to tell my readers it's important. Then when I read this page, I remembered how George wrote some words with spaces between, or he wrote them kind of slanted, just like the word water was sliding down the page. And I'm thinking on that second page when I talked about how the kids sped to the carpet, I think I could space it out and almost put the words slanted, like they're running and zooming off. So I'm going to write those words slanted. So now it tells my readers to read it like this. I smiled as the kids sped to the rug. I covered my mouth with my hand so that I would not tell the surprise too soon. And that tells my readers to read it fast and to show that there's going to be a strong voice when we're reading the word sped. It's showing the way that the kids sped to the carpet, the way they came so quickly. And on the last page, there were a lot of fun words for me to pick out. When I read this page, I wanted the reader to understand that this bubble wrap was giant. I mean, it was big enough for all of us to dance on and pop. So I think I'm going to write that word in all caps, and I'm going to make it bold too. I'm going to do both. I also noticed when I'm talking about the sound it made, pop, pop, pop. I even read it with some emphasis, and if I want my readers to know that they need to read it with some emphasis, with some strong voice, then I'm going to make it bold. So now it can be read like this. I unraveled a giant piece of bubble wrap on the rug. I leaned over and whispered to the class, we're going to have a dance party. Pop, pop, pop. We all jumped and danced on the bubbles. I like the way that my writing using these pop-out words is now going to tell my readers to read these words with a strong voice, and it's going to signal to the reader that these words are important. It looks so much better now. Now the readers will be reading with emotion and using their strong voice on those important words. And I want you to notice, I only picked out a few words to do this. I didn't do it to every single word in my story. Otherwise, they'd be reading like this the whole time. That's so silly. No, I'm just going to pick out those few words that are super important and make those be the ones that pop out. All right. So writers, today and every day, I want to remind you that you can use craft moves that you've discovered. For example, you can write pop-out words in your stories, and you can do that by writing them in bold, tracing over them. You can space the letters out, you can write them slanted, or you can write them in all capital letters. And when we use that craft of writing the words to become pop-out words, it's going to tell our readers to read that word in a strong voice, and it'll tell the reader that that word is important to understand our story. So boys and girls, now it's your turn. I want you to take a minute to think, and now you can continue on a piece of writing that you've already been working on, or maybe you're ready to start a new story. But either way, I want you to think if there are some craft moves like pop-out words that you can use to bring your story to life. All right, writers go write.